In a realm where shadows dance with light, through the whispering woods at night, secrets echo through the air, meta mysteries everywhere. Voices drift on winds untamed, words like spells that can't be named. Close your eyes and feel the sound, journey where no bounds are found. Open doors inside your mind, leave the ordinary far behind. Colors swirl and stars align, in the meta mysteries you'll find.
Welcome to Meta Mysteries, where you don't know what you don't know. My name's Jonathan.
I'm Sean.
And today is Wonder Wiz Day, and we decided, let's invite our homeboy, OptiMystic Banks. What it do, my dude?
What is cracking, y'all? Good to see you guys again.
Absolutely, dude. We had so much fun the first thing. I don't even remember all the things that we talked about the last time we had you on because it was such a smorgasbord of things that we went over. And so I'm just looking forward to this one, man. And no doubt it's going to be informative and entertaining.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
Oh yeah, dude. Well, we got all of the one here tonight. I'm sure more will be joining, but this is going to be I think it's going to be a really great conversation. I can't tell you how many times I've brought you up in specifically on other shows. And it's just because the certain things that you've said, it just makes my wheels turn, like trying to put it into my own like real life reality terms, how I'm viewing this reality. And I can't like the whole idea about everything outside of you is somewhat of a mirrored reflection of yourself. Like literally everything. I don't think that I go 15 minutes without thinking that on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Once you wake up to it and you're living in that frequency, you are all of a sudden, experiencing this plane of existence in a different way than everybody else is. So you see what other people cannot.
Right. It's very hard to describe. You can try to put it into words, but I think I was trying to tell Jonathan, this was like a week ago, and I was at work on my lunch break, and I was just sitting there, and I wasn't watching anything. I was just chilling, and I don't know, I just had this overwhelming feeling of like, I don't know, there was something that I all of a sudden kind of just understood, and it was just like this whole 3D reality that we live in, but like everything is like working for me, and like it's more than just wake up, go to work, and all the shit that you have to do. It was like, I don't know, it just felt so much more magical, like I was just a part of something, and it was just, it's very hard to explain that feeling, but something along those lines, man, and it just felt so good to be like just a part of everything.
Yeah, everybody doesn't really truly, I think, realize how special they are, that you could have been anything and you literally have been everything, and you chose to incarnate as you. Yep. Must be pretty special.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Exactly. And that's why we need to really try to appreciate what we have. Even if things seem down, even if something this day might not be going as perfectly as you would like, I feel like we still need to look at it as that, the experience of it, and so that's one thing I've been really getting lately is just like, oh man, it's still an experience, and so I still need to try to make the best of that regardless.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's more beneficial to be fully immersed in like a first person perspective of the experience. And sometimes it's more beneficial to kind of get a third person perspective of that experience. So, I'm watching Banks go through the melodrama rather than actually being fully immersed in it. But
right.
both have their pros and cons depending on the situation.
Dude, it's so strange too, because these kinds of things, once you allow them to creep into your mind, it's almost like, me and Louisa, we just got done recently watching Venom, the newest Venom movie, And it's like every single thing is symbiotic, and it's not even just things, it's thoughts and philosophies and like perspectives, that those things, they creep into your mind. I don't even want to say creep, because it's not even necessarily a negative thing, but it just causes your perspective to become so expansive that it's like it almost overtakes you. And that's kind of like what I've been experiencing, dude. Like, on some real shit. Like, I swear that there's been some wild things that have gone on, and I swear that they actually like perfectly sync up to what we talk about on this show. So for example, I had never personally experienced deja reveille. I thought that it was a really cool idea. If I had, then I forgot that I did. It was kind of like one of those things. And then today, me and Luisa are at the gym, and I'm like helping her with her workout and showing her like what things to do and whatnot. And we were having a good time. You know, it's always nice to go to the gym as a couple. That's like fucking life goals right there. And so whenever we went, and we were like, you know, I was standing in front of her as she was doing some kind of squat or something. Hey, and you gotta get that ass right. But anyway, so I was standing in front of her. I was like, holy shit. I dreamed this exact scenario. Like, I don't think that it was a daydream. I don't think that it was a thought. I'm talking about this exact picture that I'm looking at was in a dream recently. And it's so crazy, dude, because I think that whenever you become privy to a lot of these different aspects that people talk about, deja vu, deja reveille, certain psychic powers, all the universe kind of being a part of you and you a part of it, and all the different kind of stuff, it's like as soon as this stuff comes into your subconscious, it just starts happening, you know? And I wonder if it was always happening and we were just unaware of it, or if we somehow, each piece of information is some kind of key that ultimately unlocks what our consciousness is capable of.
Yeah, I think it's both. All possibilities exist, but ultimately, yeah, like when you know, our thoughts are not ours. Like, our thoughts lie to us all the time. And we are kind of just picking up on like a stream of consciousness. And that's why ideas have consciousnesses. And of like, if you don't do something with that, somebody else will. But yeah, it's like, so that's why like it's really important to recognize what you allow into your psyche, what you listen to, what you watch, because it is going to manifest in some way. And I'll tell you a quick kind of a fun story of a dream coming true. I've had it happen a few times, but the one that I usually like to talk about is my brother. When he was like 19, he was living with a roommate, and he had a dream that he was with his roommate, and they were playing miniature golf, and they were putting into like a giant goldfish. And my brother's roommate was like, had just made a putt and was like walking back to him with the ball, like smiling. And then my brother was like, 2 weeks later, I go to Lake Tahoe for the first time in my life. And we randomly go to a miniature golf course. And he's like, and I'm sitting down on the bench smoking a bowl, and I look up, and it's exactly my dream. Now, what was cool about this is that when he had the dream, he woke up and told his roommate, like, yo, I just had this weird dream that, like, we were at a miniature golf course and, like, in front of this big goldfish. And so anyway, when it was happening, he told his friend, like, yo, whoa, do you remember, like, that dream? And they were like, what does this mean? So now that was like way before my brother and I were spiritually awakened, but my brother told me recently that like since that moment, it was pretty much like time and like reality and space. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. That's a good answer.
Yeah,
I think it's acceptable. I think.
Yeah, I'll accept it. You know,
and you know, my brother and I have had multiple linked meditation experiences where we meditate in the same room, we will see the same stuff and kind of traverse the same realms together.
How do you make that happen? Is it just like your connection to your brother or to the specific individual that somehow there's some kind of like quantum thing going on there? I
think that like essentially like, you know, kind of like we're all units of consciousness, right? So like as we like kind of like ascend to like our soul families or what have you, like we're all basically one mind, you know? So like my brother and I literally coming from the same womb, and also like we were very interested. The first time we had a linked experience was like an initiation that I really needed to have because I was losing my mind. So that was like the universe's way of my higher self, whatever, coming through and being like, all right, this is like we're shifting timelines. But then after that, once we realized we could do it, we were like, oh, this is kind of fun. Let's like see what we can do. So we did some stuff with like meeting our spirit animals and stuff like that, just doing guided meditations on YouTube. And I think that just being really comfortable with the person that you're doing it with and knowing that we already could, not really having any like major expectations other than to like really help each other. That's all we really wanted to do. But I mean, I've had other linked experiences with people when like we didn't try and we like accidentally like met up in the astral realm. That's happened too. I've met people that I've seen people in meditations that then died after that, and like I had to figure out who they were and these kind of stuff. So when you're like really diving into it, you will find some very interesting stuff.
Oh yeah, dude. I would love to experience that because I've done usually every time I'm tripping on something or meditating, it's usually if I'm meditating, it's usually with Sean on this show. If I'm tripping or something like that on some kind of hallucinogenic, it's with Sean or with other people that I'm really close to. And I've never experienced the same exact thing as somebody else. So just out of curiosity, let's say you're tripping on mushrooms. You partake?
Absolutely. I literally have a bag of them on my table right outside the camera.
Fuck yeah. All right. So let's say you just so happen to dabble with some mushrooms and your brother or somebody close to you is right next to you. You guys both eat from the same bag. Are you like, do you put it at the forefront that you're trying to connect with this person in the astral realm, or did it just happen?
If I was doing that, yeah, but I've never done that specific thing. When I've meditated with my brother, we were just doing it to try to just learn more. And my brother has been meditating much longer than I have and has had kind of like some interesting experiences where he was like, whoa, but he was just learning it like through doing martial arts and doing kung fu. Excuse me. So
kung fu, that's awesome.
He would go to his teacher and be like, yo, I just like, saw a light when I was meditating, or I saw like, whatever. And basically the teacher's like, yeah, just keep on exploring. They don't dive too deeply into it. They're like, this is part of what we do, but like, we're more about like the martial arts aspect of it.
Right.
So he was kind of opened up to that stuff before I was. But like as far as like the mushrooms and like, the psychedelics, I mean, yeah, you're basically making an agreement with a spirit of a plant. And like there's even been times where I've been microdosing mushrooms and I meditated with my brother when he wasn't, and we still had a linked experience. I mean, and there've been times where we've been totally sober. So I think, these are all just kind of tools and spirits to kind of help guide us.
So freaking awesome, dude. You hear about even like certain like CIA experiments back in the 70s and 80s about how they were trying to meditate together and they were meeting up. They were seeing the same exact thing and they were in completely different rooms. They didn't make any kind of arrangement, or there was no prearrangement kind of thing going into it. And they were somehow able to link together in a meditation and go to another planet or wherever. And they didn't even know. They couldn't even confirm this with one another until each person that was experiencing it told the other person that was kind of conducting the whole thing. And then they met back up together and it was like, oh yeah, I was there, I saw that. Oh yeah, I was there, I saw that. And it was like, you remember whenever we were talking and we shook hands, whatever, right? And it's that is some of the trippiest shit ever, because any of this kind of stuff in the astral, I don't care if it's on psychedelics, I don't care if it's during meditations or dreams or whatever the case, like it is so strange to literally meet up with anybody and have them have a correlating, synchronizing story that, yes, I was there. We had that conversation. That wasn't just your mind. Like that shit blows me away.
And like the way it happened with me was so like a movie and so poetic, because like that first experience where we had that link thing, it was a 20-minute meditation, and like we were like, it was very specific, the things that were happening to us. And when I came out of it and I woke up and like I went over to my brother, the first time I ever meditated, I had this mind-blowing astral experience where I traveled through wormholes and saw my third eye and saw spirits and all this crazy stuff, very specific things. And like I woke up and like went to my brother to be like, yo, the craziest thing just happened to me. And he turned up and looked at me and he was like, was that your eye or my eye?
People
That's
saw
literally,
the
it
same
wasn't
thing.
like, I think we saw the same thing. Like, no, I was like, what the fuck was that? Like,
Right.
and but there's also been times like when we did the spirit animal meditations, sometimes we see like the same thing from different perspectives. Like his spirit animal's a dragon and mine's a phoenix. And like I saw his dragon, but he didn't see my phoenix.
Right.
And then like I felt the heat from his dragon, but I didn't see it like blow any fire. But from his perspective, it like blew fire in his face and
Right.
like that
Right.
kind of stuff. So like there can be certain things where like, and
Even
I'm sure that
certain
us being brothers definitely helps.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's some. The word that I was sort of the term that I was searching for was quantum entanglement. It just was not rolling off of my tongue for
That's
some
exactly
reason.
what it is. Exactly what it is.
But yeah, it definitely does seem like that, and I think that and according to that conversation from those guys in the 70s and 80s that were performing these experiments, whenever they were talking about it, they said you're actually less likely to achieve whatever your goal is if you're really trying.
Yes.
And I was like,
Yes.
oh my God, you literally just have to let go. Like you can't have
That's
any
literally what it
preconceived
is.
notions.
And take that lesson in your life. And like when I microdose DMT sometimes, which is like a more it's like a really potent like 5 minute kind of a thing. What I notice is that when I get into a meditative state like that, if I like try really hard to like see what they're trying to show me, like see the elves or see the shapes or see the whatever it is that they're trying to show, if I try really hard to like focus on it, it like stops and kind of like slows down and builds resistance. And as soon as I'm like, oh, I don't really care, and I just kind of like let my eyes like roll back, then boom, it all like starts moving around and all this kind of stuff. So I think that that's also a reflection of like just let go.
Right.
You don't need to have too hardcore of an intention other than love.
Yeah, I actually had an experience pretty recently, actually, and I was trying to explain it to Jonathan. I was like, yeah, I was kind of in thought, but I wasn't like focusing and really putting a whole lot of intention on what I was thinking about. And as soon as I did that, all of a sudden I saw like this flash of like red. It was like poof, and then all of a sudden it looked like I was seeing with my eyes closed. And
Yeah.
this has happened a couple times, and I really feel like I was seeing my room, like the space that I was within, but I was also able to see something else, and it made sense that I was like, oh, am I seeing with my third eye right now? You know what I mean? Along with where I am, and I don't know, dude. I feel like I've had equally, if not more, mystical experiences not on mushrooms, just from meditating and being
Yeah.
in that state of mind.
Yeah, it really does kind of like unlock or create new neural connections to kind of unveil a new level of consciousness to you. That's what mushrooms and psychedelics can do.
Right.
So like kind of like once you open it, if you continue to practice it, it's just going to get better and better. And like when I meditate, like where I go to is I astral travel. I go into outer space very, very fast. I can be there within like 10 seconds of closing my eyes. And what's trippy is like the way I perceive it is like swirling stars and like galaxies and stuff. And I can slightly open up my eyes and be in reality and still be in outer space. So like
Right.
what does that kind of tell us about like just, dimensions and how everything's kind of like layered on top of each other within it, without it. Um and
It makes it seem kind of
know,
fluid at that point.
yeah, everything's kind of happening in like the energetic realm first, time is an illusion, but it's kind of all happening up here and then materializes. So
Which
that's
is
why
where the deja vu comes from.
and that's why everything has a mystical dream interpretation kind of aspect to it, because it is all a metaphor kind of unfurling from one thing.
Which I think is probably our natural language. That's probably like how
is.
we usually talk whenever we're not, inside of these meat suits, with
Well,
the,
even look at social media. Memes are all metaphors.
there is such a thing as meme magic. We have touched on that a couple of times. Like that's some real, I don't know, sigils. I don't know if they're necessarily sigils, but they seem to be something magical that are affecting the subconscious in some kind of way for sure.
Absolutely. Any type of art does that. Any kind of interpreting of art. Like if you're looking at a tarot card or if you're looking at a piece of art that like, someone was really in the flow when they made that piece of art, you can interpret a painting the same way you would a tarot card. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and it's so funny you bring that up too, because I was just telling Louisa, I think I've only ever been to one museum in my entire life, and I went to the World War II museum. Not exactly going to see a whole lot of art there necessarily, but it was awesome. But yeah, I was just kind of making fun of her, and it's just typical kind of shit that we just always are fucking with each other. And we were talking about certain art, and I was like, dude, it would be so cool to like just go to some kind of art exhibit or some kind of art museum or something like that, and just be able to be there and see if I can be one of those people that can look at the symbology and try and understand through words what a picture is trying to say. And that's something that we've really been trying to focus on with every tarot card that we do, trying to understand the symbolism behind it. That way we don't necessarily need the training wheels of the guided tarot book anymore. That's
why like I used to think that like people who observed art I used to think that was so weird.
Douchey.
Yeah. So like, how are you seeing something like different than I am? Like you're interpreting art. Oh, and like, but now I totally understand it. And that's why like, the more you learn about tarot, if you want to learn about like the underbelly of it, it's learning the symbolism of colors, symbolisms of the elements, of the numbers. Obviously like, like what the cups represent, like all those type of things, but animal symbolism, duality, and you can literally look at it and we're like, oh, these pictures manifested from these divine understandings of things like sacred geometry and color symbolism and element symbolism and these kind of things.
Oh yeah, it definitely seems like a lot of artists throughout the past few centuries, even that they understood the symbolism behind it, and they almost want you to try and crack the code to figure out what it is, whatever they're trying to say. I mean, people for years have been trying to figure out Mona Lisa. She's smiling.
I was
going
to say, like if we go back in the day, that the artists were the scientists, were the mystics, were the alchemists, right? Mm-hmm. And they had to kind of hide their teachings and their arts. Otherwise, they'd be persecuted, right? We have a lot more freedom nowadays. But even nowadays with mystics, like that's why I make music, because, not everybody's ready to be hit over the head with "you are God." But but in my music, if you go deep enough and you're starting to come to that own realization on your own, it's going to really kind of blow your mind a little bit in a more artistic way,
Right. We just did an episode recently. We had a gentleman on. He was talking about Jim Morrison and the things that he was saying within his music, and really he was a spiritual teacher. You know what I mean? And he was really trying to teach people with his music, and I thought that was really cool. To be able to do that, because you would look at him and go, oh, that's a rock star. He makes music and kind of leave it at that. But there was so much more underneath the surface if you were ready for the information.
I think his dad also worked for the CIA or the FBI or something.
Yeah, he was like some kind of rear admiral in the Navy who was also associated with the Gulf of Tonkin, which was really strange.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a very interesting. But that's what came out of that. The baby boomers, the hippie movement. Mom and dad came home from war and got all the GI Bills, and everybody was able to get a house and a TV and a car, abundance. And then the 60s came rolling around, and all their kids were like, we don't need any of that stuff. Free love. And then, of course, the same year that we create the atom bomb, we also discover LSD.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Crazy.
Isn't that interesting how that reality just worked out that way?
Beautiful. Everything must have its opposite, always.
The balance, man.
That's why I never really understood why there's such a negative stigma to like marijuana or mushrooms or DMT or anything really natural that is grown from the earth. Now, of course, there are poisonous plants out there that you don't want to ingest. You might die. You might get some kind of weird scratch or break out in hives or something like that.
If you drink too much water, you'll die.
Facts.
Too much of anything, right?
Yeah,
and everything in moderation, man. Being a human sometimes sucks. And we have these things here to alleviate our suffering. Everything in moderation, though, you just, because that's part of the discipline. You're still here to be grounded and to feel it.
You know what I find interesting too? You just brought up suffering. There's so many like mystics and gurus and just like enlightened individuals that will say that life, like existence as a human, is suffering. And I'm like, I understand what they're trying to say with that. But I also think that like, dude, if this is suffering, I can't wait to see what not suffering is, because it's
Well, yeah.
really not that bad.
But
you
I
know
think
what I'm saying?
it's the yin yang of it. It's like to have sensation of like, ooh, that feels kind of good, kind of tingly, kind of sexual. To have that feeling, there is a deeper feeling beneath that is terrible, right? So it's like that's part of it. It's like to have one, you kind of do have to have the other, you know.
Well, that checks out. Getting over to the chat over here, resident Canadian in the mud. Shout out to our Canadian bud. Said, "Optimistic Banks, let's freaking go. This guy's energy is awesome. I love it." He also said, "Funny you say that, Jonathan. I hadn't experienced deja vu in a long time, but after listening to the last meta episode about deja vu, I've been experiencing it pretty heavily recently. It's almost like our mind needs a kickstart."
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I've heard a couple of different things with deja vu. In like a scientific sense, what they say essentially is that like it's when a new memory is forming over an old memory, like in the same space in your brain, which that could be. But that's essentially just like the physical manifestation of that.
Right.
But like, yeah, I think, when you realize that there are infinite timelines and you're kind of like collapsing them, that's why it can feel like, oh, what, I've been here before, because you're kind of simultaneously in a bunch of them. You know what I mean?
Right. As we were going into that episode, actually, there was a thing that happened to me. We were there was a company picnic thing that we were going to go to, and I had found out about it like 2 or 3 weeks before it came. And as soon as we found out where this place was, it triggered a memory of a dream, and it was really only a snippet of a dream of like just the environment, just the basic environment of this place. And then I was telling Jonathan on the show, I was like, so basically, what was it? Fuck, hold on, I lost my train of thought. So basically, I was like, so maybe when we do go there, I'll have a deja vu. You know what I mean? Because that would be a trip. It would kind of be like be backwards, And then, so what happened is we went to this place. I told my wife nothing about the deja vu, about what I said on the show. And as we were coming home, she's like, "Oh, I had a deja vu at this place that we were at." So it just gave me chills, like right now, just saying it again. It's like, because I was telling Jonathan, maybe I'll have the deja vu, and no, she has the deja vu, and I'm like, what's going on here?
That's the best, man. That's
oh
so
my
great.
God.
That's a great synchronicity. Something that I wanted to make a video on. It's kind of like a deep synchronicity. That like it's real when it's like there's nobody else that could even possibly understand this.
Right.
Like that's how deep it is to me. But something that happened with me is I made a song called the 963, and I tuned it to 963 hertz, which is like the enlightenment, like
God frequency.
And the whole song is about like consciousness and stuff. And I don't know why, but like I made that song like a year ago, and like just like a couple months ago, don't know why, but the thought came to me. I was like, check the numerology of the word hip hop. And it came out to 963.
Of course. That's fucking awesome, dude.
And of course, that's 369, 963, the whole thing of like, all that. So that like hit me really hard. And I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool.
That's freaking awesome, dude. Just yesterday, was it yesterday we talked to Lord Byron and El the Alchemist, or was that the day before? So yeah, we ended up having a conversation. We always bring up Lord Byron too. He's like our resident magician up in here, and he brought on his boy named El the Alchemist, and they do like a lot of rites and rituals and certain things like that, just as magicians do, and it's awesome. I love learning about that kind of stuff, and I'm not, to be honest, I'll probably never be somebody who practices like blood magic, for example, but I am interested in learning about it. I still find it very fascinating.
Just the fact that it works is what blows my mind.
It's the yin and yang. You literally cannot just learn white magic. You have to learn both so you know what not to do. Yeah.
Well, and also magic doesn't identify as dark or light. So it's kind of like, it's just magic. It's the force. That's the way I look at it, dude.
Gives you a new perspective though about evil mofos though, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. So anyway, we were talking, and then typically what we do at the end of a show is we have a meditation. Well, Byron wanted to give a guided meditation himself, and everybody else was just going to sit there. He was like, what kind of meditation music do you want to listen to while I'm saying this? And I was like, I don't know, 432 is usually my go-to. That's like my favorite meditation music. And I was like, 432, and he was like, you know what? Let's
Without
just
the pendulum, right?
Yeah, he's like, let's leave it up to the pendulum and see what it decides. And so we gave him out 2 frequencies, and the other one was 963, and it landed on 963, and we were like, all right, we're just gonna go with it, dude. That was one of the most, if not the most magical fucking guided meditation that we've ever done.
It was a whole
It's
thing,
on the
man. It was a
highest
whole
point
experience.
of the frequencies. It's the highest point, you know, really. It's like it's the crown chakra, you know.
And dude, like the things that he was saying, very magical, talking about the different cardinal directions and the elements, and incorporating Elohim and
Archangels.
Archangel Michael and Gabriel, and like, dude, it was so cool. But outside of it being cool, because I'm interested in learning about that kind of stuff, like legit, you felt the energy change, and I wasn't expecting that. Like I've meditated probably at least 1,000 times in my life, and I've never experienced something like that. Especially whenever you're evoking the angels and God's names, and elements and the cardinal directions and all this crazy shit. Like it was just next level awesome. And I actually, it was Raphael that I felt like I was not. I'm going to be honest with you. I know almost nothing about certain angels, archangels, and stuff like this. I couldn't tell you the first fact about Archangel Michael. I just don't know about that kind of stuff. But whenever he was talking about the angel Raphael, I was like, what the fuck? Turns out he's like, what was it? The wind, right? Is that element?
Yeah, the air element. Yeah,
the air element. Yeah, and also
Raphael is my. If I had to put an archetype on my angel, it would be Raphael. I'm an air sign as well. So.
Dude, my favorite one. I mean, Michael was pretty rad too. I felt something from Archangel Michael as well, which I'm going to be honest.
Michael is like the warrior. That feels badass.
Yeah, that's why he's fire, right? But yeah, those were the 2 ones that I'd felt like, oh my God, there's something really here. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're actually physically or, other dimensional angels, or maybe we're just talking about angles of light, or are we just talking about,
but you can't get too caught up in that when you realize that nothing is real. Like I don't know if they're if they're like actually solid. Like, fool, you ain't even solid. Zoom in. You know what I'm saying? Like you fucking 99% of every cell is empty space, dog. You barely here.
Right.
Damn,
so
good point.
But the way I look at it is like, yes, we talked about this last time I was on the show a little bit, but just that from source, from the one trickles out duality and infinite possibilities, and as that kind of stems out, you get like these different levels of energy that do manifest as archetypes, egos, if you will, and they're gonna have kind of different levels that they operate on, but it all trickles down to here, it all happens in the energetic realms and then comes down, materializes.
And it has to be energetic, and it has to be vibrational, and it has to be frequency driven, because if you really think about it, like all those angels, like the way that, that we say Michael or Gabriel or Raphael or whatever, but whenever he was breaking them down in that meditation, he was like, Raphael, Michael, Gabriel, Elohim, Yod-Heh-Vah. And it was like all of these like resonant frequencies that it's bigger than a person. It's bigger than, whatever box you want to put these individuals or entities or frequencies or whatever in. Like it's something that legit resonates with the rest of your body for some reason. And then whenever you find out, you're looking into the blood, right? Like you look into your own specific blood, you look into the DNA, and it literally spells out Yahweh. Like what? Like that Yod-Heh-Vah, like that's literally incorporated within our blood. Like that shit blows my mind whenever I think about that. And also, just to add even a little bit more on top of that, like we've talked about how upon conception with the sperm meeting the egg, and as soon as that moment happens, there's a burst of light. Like, dude, this place is not what I thought it was. And I say that pretty much every episode, but I just love having my mind blown on all of this kind of shit.
It's so cool, man. It's just that, we live in a magical place. It's just you have to kind of like, ascend into that understanding. But yeah, man, I think that when you call upon these things, what you're doing is you're basically, let's put it in the mirror kind of perspective. The mirror principle is that like you are saying, I am becoming aware of you, and I am sternly saying, Michael, Gabriel, I'm I'm witnessing you and I'm paying you homage, becoming aware of you. And now that I've become aware of you, you've become aware of me.
I
Even though you've
love
always been
that.
aware of me, right? But I'm showing you, so now the mirror is going to reflect, kind of
I
a thing.
love that you said that because that actually makes a lot of sense. We went over also like offerings, you make an offering for something. And what you just said there just lines up perfectly because not only are you acknowledging this entity with your mind, but you're making a physical offering to it, thus making it even more tangible for yourself to realize that you are recognizing this entity. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and the coolest part about it is whether you're worshiping Jesus, paying homage, making a shrine,
Mhm.
whatever it is, the cosmic joke is it's all you.
Hey, and
Yeah.
it all works,
Right? It
right?
all works. I mean,
Isn't
but
that
again, even if
strange?
you're like, Jesus, I love you, and you're the one, and it's all you, it's you're literally speaking to yourself.
Right. Oh
Damn.
shit.
And as far as offerings go, just to put, because I have a 2-year-old son, and it's always, it's either really cute or really annoying. There's hardly ever like an in between, with babies. Most of the time he's really
Duality.
cute though, right? Yeah, a little bit of duality there. But I noticed that, whenever he's like, they have like little temper tantrums and they'll scream and, I want milk or I want mac and cheese, especially my son. He's addicted to mac and cheese. It's his favorite food of all time. Or I want mac cheese. I want mac cheese. And he'll start screaming it and stuff. And, me and Louisa were just like, not with that attitude. I'm not giving you shit with that.
2 in the morning.
Yeah, yeah. Or I want cookies or whatever. But then what he'll do is he'll cross his little hands like this and he'll be like, please, Mama, can I have mac and cheese? And it's like, your wish has been granted. Like that's all you had to do. It's almost like a little baby, like his own little way of giving an offering or his own little way of like trying to plead. And I think that
Yeah.
that's really all. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that like the archangels respect manners or whatever, but maybe they do. I don't know. But it's just so interesting how you can incorporate the reality of what we experience on a daily basis and try and incorporate that into the ethereal realm with whatever you're trying to ask. Like if you're trying to ask Michael or Gabriel or whoever, like you're not just going to say, give me this. Maybe you'll put out an offering. Maybe you'll try and vibrate at their frequency or whatever the case may be. It's almost like a rite of passage in that sense, I think.
Yeah, and when I do that kind of stuff, like, I keep it simple and I will take a crystal of mine that like is valuable. Maybe I spent like, $40 on it or something like that. It's not totally worthless. It's not like a little rock. I'll take like a nice size crystal and I will do a little prayer, a little ritual if I'm trying to like receive something, and I will take that and I will throw it into the ocean. And it's like, so I'm like saying like I'm sacrificing this, I'm giving this to you, not so that I can get something in return. It's just the natural energetic, that's what happens. When I give up some energy, I have to receive something back. That's why
Transfer.
also if you notice that like if you clean your house a lot or your room or get rid of old clothes and like you keep everything really clean, it's much easier for new things to come into your life, not just physical material things, but new people, new ideas, new everything, because it's all a reflection of your subconscious. So if you have like a bunch of stuff like scattered around, it's not clean, that's a reflection of how your
Right.
mind is thinking, right?
Well,
Right,
look,
right.
don't keep it too clean because then you'll piss off some of the brownie elves out there. They like it a little dirty.
I was also going to say that, like, little kids, like, we got to do what we can to kind of like program them the way that we want them to be. But, up until the age of like 13, 14, the psyche doesn't even really understand why something is being put in front of them. Like, what is this thing and why? Like, that doesn't even happen until you're like 14 years old, So, like,
Right.
everything up until then, you're just like,
Right.
so you
Absorbing
that's
everything.
yeah, and so like, don't ever take anything too personally.
Yeah, it just all seems to be like some kind of suggestion, and very open-minded kind of suggestion too at that age, or up until that age. It's only like once we grow and we become kind of callous to whatever life has offered to us so far, and certain experiences have kind of shaped the way we look at reality to where we think we know it all. We think we understand this place. We think we understand existence and consciousness and the soul and spirit, and it's like, all right, well, I've made my decision. That's what I believe. And it's like, you sure about that? You know, like it's like there's certain things that will still cause you to question your reality, no matter how sure you are about something. That's something that I experience regularly. Is I'm just like, that's why literally the saying on our show is you don't know what you don't know, because I don't want to put almost anything into a box, because if I feel like I figure something out, or we feel like we figured something out, it almost negates all other possibilities of what it could be. And ultimately it limits whatever it could be, you know, like in that sense, to where, I don't know. I just like to try and keep an open mind. I'm always open to new kinds of information. And that's why whenever you're like, literally everybody is you. And I'm like,
things real.
Fuck, you just, like, I don't even, I'm trying to, you know, figure that all out now too.
He just came out and said that shit, dude. Like without any
Literally
kind of
everybody is,
hesitation.
and they also
Dropped it.
aren't, because everything must have its opposite. But it just kind of depends on, you know, your perspective in your universe. But yeah, I think, isn't it interesting how when we go in search of discovering things, whether that be science, technology, you know, digging up things with our own life, whatever, isn't it interesting how it seems like there's always something waiting for us to be found?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how far we go, there'll always be something else beyond that to be found. And that's the infinite nature of the holographic universe.
It's like all up to our awareness, our level of understanding. I feel like that always keeps coming around, because every time I understand something a little bit differently, all of a sudden I'll see something that kind of reflects that. And so I think that works in all things. You know, we pull the tarot card, and I'd say about 99% of the time it's like, oh, that really lines up with what we were trying to learn in this episode. And so I feel like the level of understanding that you're at, now you're viewing life through that lens or understanding, and it just kind of reflects to you in that way. You know what I mean? Like, it's so strange, but
When
the
you
only way I can
realize
describe it.
when you realize your power and how magical it all is, it starts playing with you like that, because it reflects it back to you, you know? It really does. It's like, oh, you think you're magical? Okay.
Right. Right.
You know, like let's see how magical you are. And that's
Right.
why I like to challenge the universe in those kind of ways. And by staying stoic, you know, where like when good things happen to me, yes, I have a little celebration inside, a little yippee, but I'm also kind of like, yeah, no shit, something good happened to me.
Right.
Like, and also, universe, if you really want to surprise me, you're gonna have to do better than that. And then so what I find is that it fucking has to step up its game to really surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
and,
like,
I found too, you know, actually being grateful. I know this sounds kind of cheesy, you know, like, oh, just be grateful. But when something good does happen, just like sit there for a moment and just kind of just absorb that, you know, be grateful for that happening. And we talked to Cassandra, this a psychic that we talked to quite a bit on our show, and she was just saying like, yeah, just say thank you, yes, please, more of that, you know, and then it'll say, shh, okay, say less, you know.
Yes. Yeah, I often tell people it's like when you get into this place of like really being stoic and like really being in the flow with the universe, not trying to force anything to happen, it feels like you are in the middle of a wheel. Like they talk about like a Buddha is in the middle of a wheel, and like reality is just kind of like brrr, spinning around you. And you don't have to go anywhere. You don't even have to do anything, because basically it's going to present things to you. And all you have to do is say yes or no to them. And if you say yes, it's going to give you more of that. If you say no, it's going to go, oh, okay, my bad, this. No, not that. Oh, okay, my bad, this. No, not that. And like, you know, so that's why saying no is such a powerful thing, because, you know, like a lot of times people get in like relationships and they get caught up in like the love, and, you know, 10 years goes by and it wasn't really maybe all that great because we didn't really know how to set boundaries and that kind of stuff. And then you get past that, and then you learn how to set boundaries with new relationships. And when you do that, you know, you finally get to a point where it's taking a little bit longer to maybe get like to what I want, but because I've set these boundaries and I'm not in any rush, like that perfect frequency is going to come in to match it.
Mhm. And the suffering that you cause yourself when you put yourself in a rush, whether it's to get somewhere, because if you get there sooner, then maybe there's a greater chance of finding this or whatever, and then you finally get there, and it's like all that time trying to get there fast. It's like you could have
Yeah.
just chilled and just listened to some tunes, and just
It's
cruised
it,
and got there.
it's a paradox, that the mind wants to find the answer so it can alleviate the feeling of finding the answer, but it'll never stop that, which is why we meditate, right? Why we try to
Right.
get underneath that.
Right.
Oh, if I find the answer, I'll feel better. And then you get the answer, and then there's another question.
Oh,
It
shit.
never ends. I'll feel better if I know. I'll feel better if I know. No, it's never going to end.
And
so-
as far as like rushing things, I just thought about this, dude. So earlier today, I had a show earlier from my other podcast, and so I was really trying to rush because I was I slept in a little bit, and I have like this whole morning ritual. I gotta have my coffee. I gotta have now my methylene blue or whatever I'm taking. It's like I'm always trying to get into a rush of or today I was specifically trying to be in a rush to try and get ready for the show, send out the invites and all that fun jazz. And also do a little bit of research, make sure I'm well prepared for whatever it is we're talking about. And so actually, Louisa was bringing our son over to daycare in the morning, and they were saying bye, and I was like, I'm sorry, I was thinking like I really wish that I could just go out there, kiss them both goodbye. I mean, Louisa's gonna be coming back here in like 45 minutes or whenever she gets back from the daycare, but my son, I was like, damn, I missed out on that, and I was even thinking about running out there. I was like, fuck it, if I'm 2 or 3 minutes late for this show, then that's fine. I just want to say goodbye to them, but I chose not to. And this is where it's weird. So since I chose not to, even though I wanted to, I expressed that want in me that really wanted to go out there and just say a simple goodbye, whatever it is. Because I didn't do that, maybe because I didn't do that, I don't know. I'm sure that this thing wouldn't have happened. She almost she had somebody swerve in front of her, and the car started spinning around. It was real hectic and real crazy. Almost got into a car crash. She came home. She was like, I got to tell you about this. And it was just, I was like, dude, maybe if I would have actually just did what I wanted to do in that moment, she probably could have foregone that, and wouldn't have had to have gone through that. So I do like the idea of dude, forget about being perfectly on time with every single thing and trying to force and rush things, because I mean, there could be complications with that,
Well, and what I always tell people is slack off at work so that you can put your energy into your art.
Hey.
So really you got to kind of redefine kind of where you're putting your energy, so you have more than enough time to do all the things that you actually want to be doing.
Right. And that's not even on a physical realm. You know what I'm saying? Just your thoughts. Just if someone cuts you off and you're sitting there all mad at yourself and shit, you're wasting too much energy. My wife had a test coming up, and I told her, I was like, today when you're going to take your test, don't worry about nothing else. If someone cuts you off, just let it go. Don't waste any kind of mental capacity on some dipshit that you'll never see again. And I know it sounds so simple, but these are the things that are really coming to light as far as mental energy and things of this nature, dude.
Did she Did she get the results back from that test yet, Sean?
Yeah, she passed. Dude.
Get the fuck out of here. Let's go.
Yeah, and there was something that happened, actually. One of her friends, just last night, was like, oh, there's this preppery thing or whatever. And she was studying some other stuff, but this preppery thing was really solid. And so that was one of the things that really helped her. And so I don't know. I don't know if when I talked to Byron, if that helped or if that maybe had that happen for her. I don't know. But I mean, she did it. So she's smart though.
I think that no matter what Byron would have done or what you would have done, you would have probably looked at it like, oh, maybe it's just a coincidence, or maybe she just was very well prepared, and that could have been, we could always try and find explanations, but I mean, maybe it's because you put that thought forward. You were hoping that she was going to be able to pass. You kind of prepped her in the way that you know how to. Don't stress on the way there or whatever. You also asked Lord Byron Jester, hey, could you do maybe
you can do about this?
Whatever kind of magical spell you can make this happen. I appreciate that.
Also, on another mystical level, you essentially, she is a reflection of you, so you really shifted to the timeline where she passed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Based on
Absolutely.
your thought of how it could be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
all day, I that was all I was thinking about was just her
Oh, that's
passing, and
great. Yeah,
no mention of her like, oh, what if she doesn't? Like, I didn't even think that. I was like, okay, she's gonna go past. She's gonna go past, and
but it is so important what you said just about like not getting pissed off at these silly things and just like even
Mhm.
like at work and all the relationships we're in, like we the mind loves to go down rabbit holes, like
Mhm.
really like create problems that don't really exist, and it's
Right.
like it's like an entertainment thing, kind of like, oh, there's a
Mhm.
problem at work, I gotta fucking handle this thing, when it's like probably you probably didn't even need to do anything.
Right.
But okay, so you did that, but like it's kind of like wasted energy in a way where it's like if you don't do that, kind of hold your energy back. It does feel a little kind of boring at first
Hmm.
to really be fully engulfed in your own energy and not be scattering it on all this bullshit that doesn't matter. But
Right.
then once you bring it all back in, then you can channel it into your
Hmm.
art, into the
Right.
things that make you happy, into whatever, whatever it is, your children, your
Oh yeah.
whatever.
Oh yeah, and just think about this, like when you were a kid, and the teacher was always like, "Hey, pay attention." It's because your attention is something that you pay.
Yeah.
It's something that you have to spend on
Yes.
something, and so that's how I'm looking at it. Your attention is almost like a currency,
Yes.
like a little life bar that you got.
And dude,
Absolutely.
and also I would. This is something I've been thinking about a little bit here lately, and I kind of want to get y'all's opinion on it. But I feel like if you do what you know you need to do in order to accomplish a goal, usually it works out. So, like, I know that sounds pretty broad. Let me break it down here for a second. So, for example, if I get a headache, I know that my go-to thing for some reason, if I get a headache, I get sick, if I'm feeling whatever off, like normally I'll just pop in a leave or two, whatever. And I kid you not, within 60 seconds of taking the Aleve, if I'm sick, no longer sick anymore. It goes away.
Yes. Yes.
And similarly to, like, for example, like blood magic. Let's just throw that, like, a real contrived example out. Let's say you're doing some kind of blood magic. You really want something. Maybe you're trying to get this job, you're trying to get this car, you're trying to get this, whatever it is you're trying to make happen. I think that if you know that you did the best thing you possibly done, the most hardcore, radical, wild thing that you could have done to put your strongest foot forward, some people that might be blood magic, but let's just say that that is the holy grail of everything that could ever make something come true in your mind. I think that that's why it works. Like, because you know that you did what had to be done in order for it to work.
Yes.
Like, there's something about that. I don't even think that it is. I don't even want to say it's necessarily the blood that's making it magical. I think it's
No,
just the
it's not.
acceptance
It's
that
not.
you
So
did
let
what
me
you
let me
had
tell
to.
you what all these things are basically they're symbols that trigger us. So when you're doing the reason why blood magic can seem more potent than just having a good thought is because in our deep in our psyche, we have as human beings been doing these very interesting kind of like, sacred things, like these mystical things. And we think in our psyche, like this blood magic is that must be like really, really kind of bad. It must be power. Like there's something deep and
Taboo, right?
powerful and taboo
Right.
about it, right? Like, oh, I just did that. Oh,
Hmm.
so it's really just a trigger.
Mm.
Oh, burning a candle, having a manifestation. When, like you said, when you're in reality and you see a dog and it reminds you of a dream where the dog was in it, that trigger, right?
Mm.
So all these things, they're simply just ways to trigger your mind to think a certain way. That's all it is.
Dude, it's like that's the real magic, is that emotional
Yes.
attachment outburst that somehow is triggered. I full on believe that, dude.
Which is why it
Mhm.
all works in all different cultures and all different ways.
Right.
Like if you really believe it, like you don't need to prove it to anybody. You don't need to,
Mhm.
and it's if it works, it works. And again, but like, that's why I like, okay, from the foundation of knowing that like we're all one thing, essentially like getting to know itself, right? Like, so now that I have that understanding, everything else is just for fun,
Right.
So like
Right.
don't harm anybody, don't take no shit,
Mhm.
and have fun. Go have some fun with
So,
it, you know?
so real quick, I got a question for you, and just to get your thoughts on this, as far as people claiming, "Oh, I have a ghost," or "I have a demon," or whatever it is. Are you saying then that that demon or that ghost or that whatever that sound is that's happening, is that just you playing tricks on yourself?
Well, essentially,
Or
it's all
because you're
just
in a
one
dark
thing.
place?
At the highest level, it's all one thing. So yes,
Right.
but like you could look at them like thought form entities,
Right.
Yes.
right?
Oh, shit.
And also, okay, I'll give you an example. When I sage my house, or if I was going to sage someone else's house,
I gotta do
some
that today.
people- Some people, when they do smudging and saging, they literally go like, "I cast out the demons and I cast out these bad things," and then like a crucifix will fall off the wall, and they're like, "Oh!" Right? And when I smudge, I go around and I go to every corner and I say, "Thank you, I love you, thank you." I'm thanking the house. I'm thanking the spirits. It's just a more positive, optimistic way to literally do the same thing. You're clearing the energy, but you're just doing it in a positive way rather than invoking spirits, you know?
Right. No, I love that. All is mine, man. All is
Yeah.
mind.
That is freaking awesome, dude.
No, that's why when you realize it is all one thing, you're a unit of it, experiencing it from within it. And it's like, so there's really nothing to fear. Death is an illusion. Um, but it just shows you how powerful you are because like you can manifest demons, you can manifest some weird shit, and like I'm even a believer that like a lot of the extraterrestrial stuff that we see is essentially like our higher selves. It's more of a consciousness kind of a thing. Like yes, they can materialize and we can go to where they are and that kind of stuff, but like really they are kind of like our higher selves, and I kind of see myself as like when I'm done with this physical body, that's probably what I would want to do next is kind of help the evolution of enlightenment from a higher level, and that's basically what they're doing.
That's
Bro,
so interesting that you say that. Real quick, oh, not to cut you off, dude, because I mentioned about offerings earlier, and I was thinking like, how interesting would that be too? Because I was thinking along the lines of recognizing that these entities exist by giving an offering, and so it makes it more tangible for you to believe that or whatever. But then I was thinking like, what if you made an offering to your higher self? Now your higher self is like totally recognized.
If I had a mustache, I would be going like this right now with you saying that.
Well, the meditation that I had where I saw my third eye, that first meditation, I literally had to like look up what it was. I was like, what does it mean if I saw an eye during meditation? But the reason why I know it was me and it was my eye because first it was like it came out of a puff of black smoke and it looked like an old man's eye, but then I saw just like a little bit of the face, just a little bit, and I was like, what the fuck, is that me? And then it was my voice, but like an older voice, and it said it's okay, and then it dissolved into my face, and so I've always known that at some point in the future, my higher self, my older self, my wiser self is going to be meditating and is going to pop back to that moment and tell my younger self it's okay.
It's
okay,
chill out.
I use my higher self as like my daddy, kind of like like the fool is like the fool who's like older, wiser, that knows that like everything I'm going through is just like, don't worry, bro, you're gonna get everything you want. Stop tripping.
I mean, even Jesus was like, "Yo, my Father which art in heaven." You know what I'm saying? Like, he could have been. I personally believe that he was most likely talking to his highest self. Like,
and my Father in heaven also refers to the mind. The mind is the Father and also the heaven, right? Which is why we have these things in a lot of religions, which is like God, but then in some Eastern religions it's like inward, and it's like about being right, and it's like the yin and the yang of that, and it's the feminine is like the inward, and the Father is the upward, and it really just has to do with like light comes from above, and that's the white part of the yin and the yang, and the darkness comes from below, the black part of the yin and the yang,
Bro, dude. Like, let me tell you, the last time I had a past life regression, it was so awesome, but so wild. Basically, I know that some of the one here probably heard this story before, but I just want to reiterate it, give a little context. So I've only ever had 2 past life regressions. The second one was, they were both really awesome, but this second one was particularly peculiar because I was basically like this watcher or guardian of a planet. Like, I was just some kind of being that literally I was like almost like floating out in the universe, and I could see that there was one planet that was right in front of me. I knew that was like what I was supposed to be looking out for, what I was supposed to be taking, like if they wanted to pray to me or call to me or ask me for some kind of help, that like I knew that I was kind of in charge of that. And it was like some kind of guardian kind of thing. And I just remember that after a while, people forgot that I existed. And so nobody was calling on me. So I got really lonely. And I was like, dude, these people, they just forgot. And so I went to what I deemed in my mind, who would be maybe my manager or my boss or something like that, just to put it in people terms. That's what I was thinking anyway. And I went over and I saw this dude sitting at this throne, like just in the sky, almost like Thanos, like sitting, chilling out there in the universe on his throne, right? And I went over to him, and I remember, dude, I didn't even put this together until afterward, because I wasn't really super well caught up in all the different mysticism and all the different, old school stories and whatnot. And so afterward, I ended up kind of understanding that who I was talking to was like Odin, because he had the eye patch and he had the long hair and the beard. And so anyway, I went up to him and I was like, look, these people forgot that I exist, and I feel like I'm not of help to anybody over here. I was like, is there anything that you can do to help me in this situation? I was like, maybe I should just get boots on the ground. Maybe I should just go down there. Maybe that would be my way of helping them in whatever way I can. Dude, it was so crazy. And so, and he goes, like, your wish is my command, or as you command, or something like that. And he took his staff and he put it on each one of my shoulders. And then the third placement, he tapped it on my head, and I was just gone. Like, I went through some kind of tunnel, and the next thing I knew, I was being birthed out of a woman's birth canal. Wow. And I was like, dude, I don't know if that is some esoteric type shit or if that really happened. Maybe it's both, who knows? But now the way that I'm kind of viewing this reality in a weird way, dude, I think that's where I was most recently before this life. It just makes the most amount of sense to me, because, I mean, look at this. I'm not going to sit here and say that we're some kind of master teachers or anything like that, but just getting people excited to look into all the different types of information, have the different mystics and psychics and magicians and all this kind of stuff on this show, and really just starting to really encompass like what is it called? New Age and all that other kind of stuff like this. I don't know. Maybe that's where I was before. I don't know.
Let's think about it like this. If you, if that was true, I mean, it was true. Okay. But if you were to say, I got to like put myself down there, I got to get boots on the ground, you wouldn't just come as one, and you wouldn't come as everyone.
Okay.
You would come as maybe 1%, maybe a few.
Can you delve a little deeper in what you're trying to say there?
What I'm trying to say is that, like, probably only about like 1 to 3% of the populace is awakened in this fashion that we're talking about. And that all of them are you.
Oh,
and
my God.
Specifically from that version of you that was like this demigod, this guardian. It's like, I got to get boots on the ground. And so it's like, maybe this is like this version of your planet, right? Kind of doing it in that kind of way.
Could
and be. I also, when I've done psychedelics in nature, like amongst like rocks and stuff, I will see giant boulders as like two like giants like hugging each other, and I'm like, oh, maybe that's what they are, and they're just on a different frequency, And so, like, yeah, like when we look up in outer space, we don't see like a guardian over our planet or whatever. But like, there's definitely something there. It's probably just existing in a different frequency. And if we think about it again, like kind of percolating out, that's kind of like what ETs and angels and like like as we get kind of come out like that. Like, so yeah, I think there's just certain not every entity or energy is here to help teach and to like become enlightened. Like some things are here to show us what happens when we don't evolve.
Oh, yeah.
And some things are here just to clear karma and all these kind of things. So,
And to be fair, I think that maybe there's a reason why whenever we look out into the universe with a telescope or just with the naked eye, the reason why we don't see necessarily guardians or gods or, physical manifestations of these people or entities or whatever. Dude, whenever I had that past life regression, I couldn't see myself. Like, I knew I was there. I knew I was existing. I knew I was observing. I had awareness. I knew that I had some kind of goal. But as far as some kind of corporeal, physical, material body of any kind of, I wasn't even a color. Like I wasn't a cloud. I wasn't anything. I was just like there. Yeah. And it's such a weird perspective, like looking at it from that angle. But what's awesome is that it's still you. Like you're still thinking like very similar to how, not all the way, but very similar to almost how you like have a mind in this life, you know?
Yeah. And I think that that's what we got to remember, right? Is that like, it really is all one mind. Like, we could say that, that my business card, as soon as I pull it away and I'm not looking at it and you're not looking at it, that like we could say that it could still conceivably be here amongst itself, right? But even though there's nothing there to conceive of it, we can still like, have the idea that it's still there. So that tells me that there's always one mind being aware of everything. It's kind of like if you light a candle in a room and then like you walk out and you come back and the candle's melted. Like something was aware of that.
Oh.
And what is that? And so I think it all is a single mind kind of being awareness.
I mean, unless the flame itself is a piece of awareness, which some people would probably lead to believe, it's one of the main elements. And, it just makes me think of that whole double slit experiment, I think is what you're alluding to, about like certain things act very differently whenever you have eyes on them or become aware of them. And it's like maybe whenever those things, you're not paying attention to them, they exist as something else. And then you start to put a little bit of awareness onto it. And now they transform into some kind of thing. And it's like, it's wild shit, dude, especially whenever, like, for example, whenever any of us were in like middle school or high school or whatever, and we had a little girlfriend, we had a little boyfriend or whatever, there was a point in time where we didn't look at him a certain type of way. And then maybe we started to, I like the way she smiled. I like the way his eyes were. I like the way she smelled, or, whatever the case may be. Bang, it instantly shifts. And I think that it's probably something like that, dude. It's just more of our connection to whatever it is, our awareness somehow is magnetized to it.
Yeah, I think, ultimately it is all just like we've talked about before, like this chair is conscious. If it wasn't, it would not be able to be a chair. Like every piece of everything, like even a piece of plastic, something man-made or whatever, like the particles are aware of what they are, which is why they are what they are. And the chair is just God seeing what it's like to be some fabric and some dye and see what it was like to be put together by machines and humans. And like, and we think of it like, oh my God, that would be so boring to like just be a chair, like just be a rock. But like keep in mind that like time is an illusion and it's all subjective, and that like, the lifetime of a mountain, as far as like the speed of that lifetime, is probably essentially the same as our own,
Damn. That's awesome. Just want to get over here back to the chat. Taylor said, happy Wednesday, everyone. Happy Wonder Wednesday. Joel said, I just watched the Lord Byron episode. You guys should do an episode and deep dive into the 72 angles of Shem Hamaforash. Hamaforash? I don't know who that is. And the 72 demons of the Goetia. Dude, I've actually been thinking about looking into the whole demons of Goetia kind of thing, just because
might be coming up soon then.
Just because Byron's always talking about them, but I think, conversely, also looking a little bit more into the angels. I'm just fascinated by that kind of stuff, especially after that experience. I'm like, all right, you got my attention.
I'm fascinated with how throughout all cultures, all religions, all this mysticism stuff, that like the numerology of the number 9 is always present. 72, 7 plus 2 is 9. And we'll find it everywhere. All of the hertz that we talk about, 963, 432, they all reduce to 9. And there's an interesting thing in mathematics where essentially 0 is equal to 9. It's a very strange thing that kind of happens. And also there's a strange thing that happens where 0, if you put 0, basically like 0 to the 0 power infinitely, it basically will eventually equal 1.
What?
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing that happens. Like if you're going to put like 0.05 to the 0.005 power, like a small number times to this power of an even smaller number, it will be like at like point 0.8, almost at point 0.1. It's like very strange. It's a very interesting thing that happens. So, and it's something that the ancient mystics figured out, that somehow one is zero, everything is nothing, nothing is everything. And that nine, in the conceivable numbers that we have created, essentially, that nine represents like the end of cycles, enlightenment, these kind of things. So I just
And
think
that there, if you want to look at it esoterically too, like that could just mean that there's never nothing.
yeah,
You know what I mean? There's
or
always
that nothing
something.
is something.
Right. There you go.
That's why,
Shit.
like on my podcast, like my tagline is "Everything matters, nothing matters," because that was the first thing that I said when I came out of my near-death experience on DMT.
Oh shit.
It's just like
Damn.
all at once. Oh my God, I get it. It's like all of my life, like actually none of it mattered, and everything mattered at the same time. And also, let's think of that: everything matters and nothing matters. So the the everything matters and the nothing matters, or we're saying that nothing matters.
Right. Shit. You pulled that tagline from the other side, my dude. That's fucking
Yeah.
awesome.
Joel, go ahead, my brother. That is a sick ass mask. I love it.
Thanks, dude. It's one of those face rejuvenating masks. But what's it called?
Rejuvenate that
Uh,
thing.
yeah, dude. What's it called? Oh, what was I gonna say? Oh, it's Shemham Farash Angels. It coincides with the Goetic angels. It's like the yin and the yang. You know what I mean? But one thing that I wanted to say when you guys were, I was listening to it before this live, and when you guys were talking about like the love rituals and all that stuff,
Mhm.
I actually have a tarot card deck that has the 72 Goetic demons. And while I was shuffling it, and when you guys were talking about that during the podcast when I was listening today, I pulled up the demon Beleth, which is causes all the love that you may be both yeah, it's pretty much like a love demon and shit. I thought that was pretty weird, pretty cool. And as soon as I was listening to that, I pulled that card and I was like, damn, that's crazy.
That's actually a really good idea for anybody else that's listening. Maybe while you're listening to it or in the middle, once you're done listening to it, whatever, pull a little tarot card, see if it correlates with the show we just talked about. I would be interested to see. Maybe it
I
won't
bet
be
it
this.
does.
Maybe it won't be the same exact card, but it could be some kind of the same flavor in a sense.
I'm willing to bet that it would line up somehow, some way.
Damn, dude, that is freaking
Right there,
awesome.
I
For
just
sure.
grabbed my deck.
Hey, we're getting magical up in here with tarot decks. Recently I just bought the Aleister Crowley Thoth deck.
I just did a bunch of research on him. That's funny. Yeah.
Really? Yeah, I was
yeah.
just always so fascinated. I mean, I know everybody has their opinions about Aleister Crowley and all that kind of stuff. Whatever. I like it for the magical aspect of it. Now,
Everything he said was legit. He just used it in a really funky way.
yeah, he was a weird
And
ass guy.
It does seem to be that kind of all the weird modern Satanism, baby blood sucking stuff kind of did stem from him. But he understood the higher self and all that kind of stuff. He just
Dude.
chose to use it in a dark way, which
He
again,
understood
I mean,
what was capable.
at the end of the day, bro, there's no good and there's no evil.
Bro.
It is what,
He
You
came
guys
up.
think about the demons, like because I know Aleister Crowley actually said that the 72 Goetic demons were supposed to be parts of your subconscious mind, but listening to Byron and all them, they're kind of saying like they're actually like real self, I guess separate entities in themselves. I don't know what to make about that.
Okay.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, that's the whole thing about the illusion of reality, and that like, yes, if you give them power, they can manifest, right? It's kind of like if you ruminate on a problem, then the universe will manifest a situation for you to alleviate that issue within you, even if it has nothing to do with the problem. It'll just create something for you to So I work through it.
Right.
So it's almost like you materialized it, you made it real.
You triggered the universe.
Oh, dude, it's like that joke about these three dudes. They're in the presence of some kind of genie, and the genie each grants them one wish, and all they had to do is say whatever it is that they wish, and then walk through like this portal or whatever, right? And so the first guy's like, "I want a new Ferrari," walks through the portal, gets a Ferrari. The next guy's like, "I want a mansion," walks through the portal, gets a mansion. The third guy, he goes, "I want like a super hot smoking wife," or whatever the case, and so he's like getting ready to take his step, and he trips, and he goes, "Oh shit," and lands on the other side. And it's just a lifetime full of shit. You know, it's like I think that the universe is like, I think it has a little sense of humor in that sense. Like,
absolutely.
So whatever you focus on,
the universe is a big goofy baby.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a
yeah.
big goofy baby. I mean, like it's super vast, but it's just trying to figure this shit out too. It's wondering what the fuck it is too.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, what? Whoa! I just did that. What is that? Let's do that again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It seems like it, dude. I've heard, people speculate. I've heard like, people like Alex Jones and mystics and all that kind of stuff. They say that even God wonders where he came from.
100%. We are God asking, "Who am I?"
It's like, a fucking enigma, like, dude.
Like, and for real, like, and we talked about this last time. That like the reason why, we ever feel alone is because we are alone. We are one thing amongst itself, which is why we split ourselves up into different things so that we weren't alone anymore. But like, yeah, we're all alone, which is why there's nothing to fear.
I'm not gonna lie. Whenever you first said that, it haunted me for a little while. Like it actually, like it haunted me for a little bit. And then I was like, afterward, I was like, I mean, if it all is me, it's pretty fucking awesome. You know what I'm like? At that same point,
it's a beautiful thing, man. It's just you hugging yourself, and sometimes you get mad and you slap yourself in the face too.
Yeah, yeah, it feels like that. So just to get back over the chat here, Nora the Explorer. Oh, I'm sorry. Nora says,
there it is.
said, "Evening, everybody. Great to see OptiMystic Banks on tonight. Love you guys." Getting a lot of love. I told you that a lot of the one out there, they've been asking for this kind of stuff, dude. Mm-hmm. The resident Canadian in the mud said, I think this is, let's see. It says, "Heck yeah, Sean. Ever since I've been asking for more synchronicities, it's opened the floodgates, and I'm loving every single minute." And Cassandra rules, which she does.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, whatever you're paying your attention to, that's what you're gonna notice.
It'd be like that.
Sounds too simple almost.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and also in talking about what you told Lauren about, whenever she was getting ready to go take that test, Abby said, "I love that. Times in life where you lash out at someone with anger, etc., that energy blob can linger around in corners, and saying love you, bye, thanks for the lesson, and back to 0 point energy, the energy will recycle."
Exactly.
It's kind of like it's like Ho'opono Ono, it's like that whole thing of like, I think it's like thank you, or it's I'm sorry, thank you, I love you. It's like even to like your enemies and like all that kind of stuff. You're putting just love, just love. The alternative doesn't get us anywhere good.
Even when you interact with somebody that's like purposely or seemingly intentionally trying to piss you off or something like that, it's like, let's just see where this goes. You know what I mean? This is just an experience. I'm just on the ride. Let's just see how it goes. But I'm definitely not going to punish myself and carry anger, because that shit sucks. And you carry that shit all day long, and then you're interacting with other people. They're sensing it off you. They're taking a little bit of the load. They're causing their own little ripples, and it's just outward we go.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't like to hear this, and this is kind of like a deep esoteric understanding, but essentially, if everybody is you, if someone is being an asshole to you, you have to clean up how you see them. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a messed up, weird thing that like a lot of people get like that, and it's like, yeah, but I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean if you clean up how you see them that they actually will. But you're not doing anybody any favors by continuing to believe that they're an asshole, because that's exactly what they will continue to be. And also, some people aren't meant to change, and they're kind of like artifacts of our old subconscious, like the old versions of us, and they kind of need to fall off for us to continue to grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can always just transmute that situation, and just understand that not everybody has to understand you.
Nope.
Basically.
Yeah. Never.
It's all good.
And how wonderful is it when, like, like for me, I mean, shit, like when I first woke up, I was trying to wake up everybody
Hmm.
and nobody wanted to listen. And then now I'm at the point where I've become a beacon, I've become a light. People can see it and go, oh, there's a light. And
Hmm.
then the people that come into my atmosphere are actually open and willing to receive a message,
Hmm.
as opposed
Yep.
to me trying to, like, wake up my friends and family and stuff. Like,
Yep.
Yeah, you can't
Hmm.
force it down anybody's throat, and that's something that I've really started to understand here recently, really over the past couple of years. Just I do I think like 7 or 8 shows per week, and so on my other podcast, the Cult of Conspiracy, me and Jacob used to butt heads crazily because he's a Christian and he's always looking at everything from the exoteric, right? And I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, but you don't know this side. There's a whole other magical, there's double entendres, triple entendres. We don't know what they exactly meant, but I think maybe if you meditate on it, maybe you might get the answer. And he's like, no, dude, like a lot of this is very historically documented and there's proof, there's physical proof. Yes, they went here. And I'm like, dude, what if none of it was literal? Like, I think personally, and I don't mean to ruffle any feathers here, but I mean, if all of it, if the entire story was esoteric, meaning maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. It doesn't really matter if it really happened as long as the story carried on, right? I mean, I feel like it would still have the same effect. Like why are people constantly searching for proof with this kind of stuff? Just try and understand it at a some kind of mental level in that sense, because that's really what the story was carried on for. In my opinion. Now, as far as like certain prophecies and stuff, I don't know. That shit still blows my mind. But I think that there's like a lot of stories like Jonah and the whale. Some people actually believe that that's a true story. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? There's obviously some kind of extra shit going on right here. Like, just think about it. What could he have meant by portraying this short story in front of you? Like, could you get more out of the story if you could understand it at a deeper level rather than just assuming that this guy just got swallowed up by a whale? Like maybe you can get a little bit more from it.
Well, allow me to be your reflection and ask you to take your own medicine when I say this, that perhaps there are infinite realities, infinite past timelines, infinite future timelines. Perhaps someone was actually swallowed by a whale in that exact way. Perhaps it happened in an infinite number of ways, in different ways where it's slightly different. Perhaps it happened all metaphorically. Perhaps it didn't happen at all. Perhaps all of them exist simultaneously.
Which
So
is
who are
probably
you?
right.
Who are you as God to tell another unit of God that their reality is false?
That's exactly right. And that's what I've learned over the past couple of years. It's much easier, like not
And it's
easier.
funner
but-
when you go about it that way. It's so much more fun.
Yeah, it's like yeah, I found that it's much easier to go about it that way. That like, all right, some people are going to have this perspective. I don't need everybody to have the same perspective as me. That's why we go out and talk to people.
Isn't it interesting how we can find evidence that Jesus existed? We also find evidence that he definitely did not exist. We also find evidence that he didn't die. We also find evidence that he lived on and had kids. We also find evidence that he was a combination of other people.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe because infinite timelines exist.
Right. Right.
Mandela effect. Oh my God.
Resident Canadian in the mud. I saw you with your hand up. You want to chime in?
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I was just actually, I want to try to stay on topic, so I put my hand down. But
That's
at
all
the
good.
same time,
We're all over the
for
place, bro. It's all good.
For sure, man, for sure. OptiMystic Banks, man. So cool to hang out with you here tonight. And I wanted to ask you something quickly because a lot of people ask the big question for people who open up their third eye is like, what made you open up your third eye? And for me, it was actually music. Like at a young age, I was listening to Immortal Technique and Diabolical and all these guys, and it was just opening my mind up to the fact that the government was lying to us and wars were,
Yes.
Faulty and things like that. So I started creating music at a young age myself, and I started, making lyrics and just goofing around with friends and freestyling and experimenting. And I wanted to ask you if you had any certain artists that kind of inspired you, or if you know of anyone right now that we can kind of go to for that sort of music outlet, because I think it's so powerful in this time of day, like this time of age, to find that outlet as far as music goes. So I wanted to see what you thought about that.
Good
Oh,
question.
thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That was wonderful. Hold on, let me
Yes,
close
sir.
my window. My dog's barking.
I know what it's like.
So, so as far as current music, bro, I'll be honest with you, it's hard to find good conscious music. I that's why I'm making it because I couldn't really find it. The music that I grew up listening to was like Wu-Tang, KRS-One, Immortal Technique, a lot of the East Coast rappers. Yeah, teaching us about the conspiracies and um, 9/11 and aliens. I listened to Cannabis a lot when I was growing up. So like, he had a lot of stuff about ETs and stuff like that. And I was in a hip hop group when I was younger, and we made a whole album called Global Domination. That was every song was about conspiracies and aliens and that kind of stuff. So I was always pretty much like open to it, but like I didn't really know what spirituality really was. I didn't really know what a third eye was. Like I said, after I had my experience where I meditated and I saw my third eye, I literally had to look it up. Like, what does it mean that I saw an eye during meditation? But ironically, this is what's so cool. I'm glad you brought it up because about a week before I had that meditation, I made a song with a friend and we were definitely on some mushrooms. And it's just a song that I have out. It's called Starman. And the song, we just went like super deep into like freaky esoteric stuff. And like, I had had a near death experience like a year before that. So like, we talked about like the void and just like, the whole song is about like, uh, I say like, someday you will realize, you'll awaken, the oldest plan to overstand who you are, where you're from, Starman. And then a week later, I had this mind blowing like initiation in this meditation. And so I think that like that song I kind of channeled through my higher self was like, all right, you want to know? We're gonna
Oh man.
and like literally everything we talk about in the song. I talk about going through wormholes to return home and all this stuff, and like it all happened in my meditation. So some type of
Well,
initiation. So definitely creativity is so important.
yeah, man. No, it's really interesting because I don't know about you, but for me, like I'm not saying I'm a Kanye West or some crazy writer or anything like that, but like when you get a certain song or an idea in your head and you write it down and it takes you like 5 minutes, it's like that was something that was sent to you from somewhere else that you can't really comprehend. Whereas other times I'll sit down with the pen and I'm like sitting there for an hour and I can't come up with a single damn lyric. So,
Yeah.
but when it
My
hits
most
you,
popular
it hits you.
songs took me the least amount of time to make.
That's my thing, man. Like I've made a few during the quarantine. I used to sit down and write a lot, and I used to kind of dial in, and certain things that came through, I'll still play it back today and be like, I don't know where that came from. It took me like 10 minutes to make it, but you know what I mean. It's one of those things.
So, and it's like that's when you learn about like channeling and like psychic channelers, and that kind of stuff. Like they're doing the exact same thing. You're in the flow, right? You're just in the natural flow. You're just letting what come to you. You're not trying to fight it. There's no resistance. I'm making it up as I go, and that's exactly what psychic channelers are doing too. And they're so like when you're speaking the truth and like expressing that truthfully, whatever that truth is, it is coming from your higher self, from source.
Yeah, and I think especially during the COVID times, I had so much pent up emotions and anxiety and things like that that it was just flooding out, and it was just so natural for me to kind of talk about what I was feeling. Yeah. And it was like I was talking to myself. I wasn't necessarily trying to reach the masses. I wasn't trying to say anything to anybody, but it was like I was having a little intervention with myself about life and the things that it brought on to me. And
anytime you're making music, you should only any type of art, you should only be doing it for yourself. As soon as you start doing it for the audience, it's no longer the best thing for them.
Well said, man. And one other thing I wanted to say quickly was also R.A. the Rugged Man. He's pretty awesome. He was actually on Tripoli's podcast too, so that kind of made me pretty happy to see that.
I would love to connect with some more kind of conscious artists. I was talking recently with Young Dirty Bastards manager about doing some stuff, and I love Wu-Tang and grew up listening to them, but I'm not even really sure I think I got to kind of create my own thing,
Yeah, man. There's a guy that I'm talking to right now. I've been actually watching him since I was in high school, and I'm like 32 now. But he hasn't really blown up yet, but his third eye is wide open, and he's unreal. His name is Swoozy on Instagram, and his lyrics are so good. His rapping is so amazing, and he hasn't got the notice yet, but I think it's for a reason, and I think he has a higher purpose.
Yeah, his music's not for the masses.
That's exactly it, man. I told him, I said,
we ain't here for that, dog. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, please, find me on Instagram and send me his stuff. I'd love to.
all right, yes,
take a
sir.
look.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Hell yeah.
Just so
dude.
everybody knows, I'm very available. Like on Instagram, you can message me and stuff.
All right, brother. I definitely will do that then.
Cool.
Resident Canadian, I do have a question for you. I know that you're in Canada, and I can't help but think that fence or wall-looking thing that your dog is leaning up against, is that a hockey rink wall, or am I
Has
tripping?
to be. They're on
That
that corner,
is-
I think.
Yeah, that's indeed a outdoor hockey rink. So it's like a little. I used to take my rollerblades down there, and I'd rollerblade around with him, and I'd shoot the ball, and he'd go chase it, and he'd have a good time. But isn't his back jacked?
I know, right?
Crazy,
Yeah,
dude. Yeah, I got a fucking. It's a mix of a boxer and a wiener dog, and the craziest looking dog you'd ever see. And he just has like the boxer head, but then the rest of his body is just like a little wiener dog with the little stumpy legs and shit. But my God, is he fucking yoked? We don't even have a huge yard. He was just like born super swole. I'm like, it doesn't
Working
even make
out at
sense.
night when you're not looking or something.
Big old veiny wiener, dude. This is just what it reminds me of. Like, it's crazy.
Oh man, always fun with you guys, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I know that's quite the look, man. We got to get some pics of your dog on the Patreon or something. I don't know.
And ironically enough, his name is Fatty.
That's great.
Yeah,
You
dude.
guys, man.
Um,
Too
s-
much.
so, Sean, I think it's about tarot time, sir.
Are you ready? Are you guys ready? I've already pulled it. I'm ready to go. We got the Ace of Pentacles, which
Oh.
I mean, just kind of reminds me of letting that creativity flow and taking whatever gifts you get when you get them. You know what I mean?
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
that is a divine gift from the universe. Just being
Seems
like,
like
here
it.
you go.
There you go. Yeah.
it looks
And,
like it too, yeah. But it says the Ace of Pentacles, a prosperous new beginning is unfolding for you. Be open to receiving gifts from the divine. The Ace of Pentacles bears the gift of a new beginning rooted in the element of earth. Here we see the hand of the divine reaching through the clouds to offer a golden coin with a pentacle on it. Beneath the coin, there is a beautiful garden with lush flowers blooming, a symbol of great abundance and prosperity. Here in the garden, you have everything you need to ensure success. Take what you need as you venture beyond the floral archway and out into the world, trusting that you have planted seeds that will take root and ground you through any of life's challenges. And the spiritual perspective here, it says, you are following a new path of self-care and wellness that leads to vibrant health. Keep an eye out for new opportunities to create stability and wealth, such as an inheritance or a generous gift.
I'll take an inheritance any day, dude. You know?
Yeah, I'm actually starting a new podcast. My first episode, I'm filming it tomorrow.
Hell yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense for me.
What's it called?
Good shit.
It's going to be called the Optimistic Podcast. So my other
Yes.
podcast, my other podcast was called the Brooks and Banks Show, and it was my brother and I. My brother's a kung fu master, and he's done hip hop music with me forever. And it was kind of just a proof of concept. We were like, we don't really know what we're going to talk about, but Banks is going through some crazy spiritual awakening, so let's document it. And we know it works. We've reached millions of people, so now we're going to kind of hone in what we're doing. The Optimistic Show and Optimistic Podcast, and yeah, I'm also going to be doing a 12-part series on YouTube, just going through the different esoteric modalities that I went through and putting them in the same order that I discovered them in, kind of like in the proper way to kind of understand how it all works.
I love that, dude. We would be honored to be on your great podcast
absolutely.
whenever
We'll do
you
it.
want. We
Absolutely.
will be there.
100%.
Hell yeah, dude. I love it. I just love to see people starting podcasts and just expressing themselves creatively and almost like pushing themselves to the limit as far as what information are you willing to soak up like a sponge and try to change your perspective on certain things and have certain conversations with people that might say something that you never thought about, like the almighty OptiMystic Banks talking about how everything is one and
Everything
still
matters and nothing matters. I don't know about you, Jonathan, but every time we have Optimistic Banks on, I feel a little more optimistic. I don't know about you.
I do. Yeah, I think it was perfect timing too. Oh, and check it out. Resident Canadian in the Mud said Sean pulled that card at 11:33 my time.
Of course. Right.
33 is my favorite number.
Oh, yeah.
Got it on my
Yeah.
thumbs. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, dude, I've been thinking about it. I need to get some more hand tattoos because I just love, and my wife.
I love it as these are like symbols where like, the everyday person wouldn't be offended by them, but real recognizes real when they see them and they're like, oh, thank you, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
dude.
I see you. I see you.
Yeah.
One last question I have for you, Optimistic, and it's very serious, and I want you to take it absolutely serious. That question is, did your brother learn Kung Fu or did he download it?
Dude, okay. So I
know
love that
Kung Fu.
because one of my like amazing epiphanies when I woke up is like I started doing more Kung Fu with my brother, and I thought about the whole thing of like Neo when he wakes up in the Matrix and he's like, I know Kung Fu. And I'm like, bro, I woke up and I know Kung Fu. And the trippy part is like when I started learning it from him, I had flashbacks of past lives where I learned it with him before.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. But he started training in this life at the age of 17. And it's like 5th, 6th degree black belt, super master, like over 1,000 forms, many weapons.
And as far as Kung Fu goes, too, it's more of a spiritual martial arts, isn't it? Like it's
mystical. That's what's so cool about it too. Yeah, it's because the way it started, just real quickly, is that the monks were in the temples doing the spiritual stuff, and then people that were doing things like martial arts and like forest people, they would come around and be like, hey, like your fucking monks can't even like sit and meditate all day because they're out of shape. So then like they're like, okay, let's like join forces. So then the monks taught the martial arts fools, and the martial arts fools taught the monk fools. And basically what it all came down to was them observing nature and being like, whoa, the tiger fucking uses it like this, the crane uses it like this, the snake is
Right.
like, just observing like, whoa, how can a crane beat a snake, and what the fuck, and like, just using that and copying it basically.
Dude, I feel like most of the best shit is just in nature already. It's already perfectly designed, so why wouldn't we try to just copy that?
Always
I mean, we've done it
speaking
so much in creating.
we are a copy of nature.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, dude. Well, look, I think we're going to wrap it up. We're going to get to the meditation and whatnot. Anybody that wants to be able to stick around for that, feel free to do so. Oh, look here, before we go, I need to share an image right here.
Looks like Scrappy Doo right there.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he do actually. So this is my baby Fatty.
Oh my goodness gracious.
And he's actually a lot bigger than that now, but he was still kind of a bit of a smaller dog back then. But
it looks like he almost wants to tip over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's got like a long wiener body, but then he has the big fat boxer cheeks too. So he's a cute baby.
Yeah, wiener dogs represent mystically, like loyalty, and they also, they go into holes to like find things, so they go down rabbit holes.
Shit.
And then you got your boxer, who is obviously more of the masculine kind of playful character.
You're never gonna look at your dog the same again. He always blows your mind one way or another every time.
I had dachshunds for many years, so I know a lot about the mysticism. Yeah.
He's like the kung fu master at that point.
Shit.
I love y'all. I'm gonna peace out, but I love y'all so much. Y'all be good.
I love you, man.
Yeah, absolutely,
Thanks for coming
man.
on, bro.
If you would, for anybody that doesn't follow you or anybody who doesn't know about your music or anything that you got going on, could you let the one know where to find you?
At OptiMystic Banks. That's Mystic with a Y. Banks. You can find me YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere, anywhere.
Go find his music. I love it. I'm a fan of your music, and I'm just gonna put it out there, dude.
I'll be bumping
that shit.
It is my favorite form of art, and it's just a deeper dive into this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude.
It slaps, dude. Yeah, well, Optimistic, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I'm sure the one really appreciated seeing you and hanging out with you tonight. It was a pleasure having this conversation with you, man. You're one of our favorite people.
Thank you, Kyle, Britt, Louisa, Joelle, resident Canadian in the mud. Enough said. Love y'all. You'll be good.
Hell yeah, man. All right, well, we'll see you later then, my dude. We'll keep in touch.
You got it, bro. Love y'all.
Love you, man. All right. Well, we are going to get into the meditation. Hopefully you guys really enjoyed that conversation. We like having these kinds of conversations, different kind of perspectives, especially from like a literal mystic. I mean, I can't think of any other word that better describes him other than just a mystic mind. And to be honest, we're kind of aspiring mystics over here, right?
Yeah, dude. And I love that, whenever I speak of some type of experience that I've had, I know already that he's going to know what I'm talking about. Or at the very least, he's not going to look at me like, what a weirdo. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I thought
he knows what's up.
Yeah, I thought it was strange because Resident Canadian, he was like, hey, have you ever heard of these bands? And he's all, yes, I know of them.
Yeah,
I was like, of course you fucking know who they are. But yeah, I guess what we're going to do right now is get over to the meditation. But before we do, we want to just say for anybody that's listening to this to the next day, the best place to be able to join in on these conversations is to go to patreon.com/metamysteries. That link is down in the show notes below. We have several tiers, but if you sign up for the Wonder Wiz Day tier, that will give you access not only to all of the other things that you get on the other tiers, such as completely commercial-free episodes. You get the shows a couple of days in advance, and all of the video that we're putting up. And it is also the best way to be able to join us, or also the best way to be able to support us in every way that you possibly can. So we appreciate all of the one who have been doing that. Also, I want to remind people that this is going to be one of the last episodes that we are going to be posting on our platform, Meta Mysteries Podcast. Moving forward, our audio, not everything, but just our audio content, if you're listening to this on the podcast, will be shifting over to the Cult of Conspiracy. Over there, we're building a network of just open-minded people, conspiratorial, flat earth, Christian, it doesn't matter. We're all over the place over there. Mm-hmm. So we're really trying to build like this awesome web of just understanding.
The collective, dude. It's the collective.
It kind of, yeah, that's what we're kind of starting to do, is just trying to represent the collective in some kind of way, all on one channel. And so we're going to be posting over there every Monday and Friday. If you just want to listen to the podcast, you just want to listen to the audio, it'll be over there every Monday and Friday. If you don't want to do that, if you don't want to be involved with anything conspiratorial, totally understandable, which is why we created a YouTube channel. The YouTube videos will be getting uploaded the same day that they're uploaded to the podcast platform. Of course, on YouTube, there's still going to be commercials every so often. You're still not going to be able to get it, with the quickness. Typically what we do is, actually Luisa's the editor of this show, and she goes back and she edits it and posts it up on Patreon and YouTube and everywhere else. So if you want to be able to get the shows literally the day that we are done shooting, then you will have to go over to Patreon the day that we're done shooting. You'll be able to get it that day. And sometimes that's going to be 3, 4, 5 days even in advance. So yeah, we'd appreciate if you went and checked that out. But if not, you just want to be able to listen, we're available on the Cult of Conspiracy podcast. We're available at youtube.com/metamysteries and also Patreon. So plenty of different ways to be able to support us. We also post a bunch of clips from the show on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube Shorts and stuff like that. So we're really just trying to expand a little bit here and try and cast out a wide net for all of the one to be able to just grab a hold of.
Oh yeah, dude, you build it, they will come. You know,
that's the
what
goal.
I've heard, anyways.
Hey, field of dreams, baby. So yeah, look, we appreciate all of you joining us. For anybody that wants to be able to stick around for the meditation, then just hang tight and we will get started with that. But if you don't have time for that, you need to boogie up out of here, then this is where we leave you. And what we like to say is, if OptiMystic Banks came here and he taught you anything, it's that you don't know what you don't know. So don't just get weird.
Stay weird.
In a realm where shadows dance with light, through the whispering woods at night, secrets echo through the air, meta mysteries everywhere. Voices drift on winds untamed, words like spells that can't be named. Close your eyes and feel the sound. Journey where no bounds are found. Open doors inside your mind. Leave the ordinary far behind. Colors swirl and stars align. In the meta mysteries you'll find. Power rise from the depths of crystal skies, where the unseen comes to play. Lost in dreams, you lose the day. silence.